Hello, welcome to AP Computer Science. Congratulations on getting here, and hopefully we'll have a enjoyable year as we prepare for the AP exam. And my name is Mr. Lee. Most of you are familiar with me. We've had classes in the past, but some of you have not. So I'll be going through the syllabus, what the course entails, and what the mission is for the class. First thing you want to do is open up your browser and you'll go to codecreative.us. That's my website, and these are the different classes that I teach. We want to click on Java down here, and once you do, it'll take you to this page. We have a couple of links if you want to go through them, how to contact me, about me, and then getting back to Java. We're looking here under useful links, and we have the daily schedule. If I click on that, you can see that I post up the day of the week and standards, the objectives for the day, the milestones, what we're going to be doing, the homework, and also any announcements that I want to get out there. So I'm going to have that projected on the wall of the class, so you don't really need to worry too much about that. It'll be up, and you can see what we're going to be doing for the day. If you're absent, you can take a look at that and see what you missed. If I skip a couple down, we can take a look at the course syllabus, and you could see here on web page form is the course syllabus. If you want a printable version, you can hover over this text here, and if you click on it, it will download the Word doc version. You can go ahead and print that. Right? So what is this course? Well, it's kind of the intro to coding. Like, there's 3 computer science courses here at the school. There's Intro to Computer Science that uses JavaScript. There's Intro to Coding, which uses Python. And then there's AP Computer Science, which is Java. And Intro to Coding is the prerequisite for AP Computer Science. So when I designed the AP Computer Science course, I designed it with that in mind, with the understanding that all students have taken Intro to Coding. So it's kind of an Intro to Coding Part 2. Right. We've gone over quite a bit of content in Intro to Coding, so AP Computer Science starts off where you hit the ground running. Those of you who somehow did not take Intro to Coding and somehow do not have experience in computer science may have trouble in the beginning of the year, but if you go ahead and ask me any questions that you have, I'll be more than happy to explain what's going on and hopefully minimize the amount of frustration that you have as you go through the beginning exercises in the class. Okay, so that's that, and the first object or purpose of the class is to go over some of these topics in the context of Java, and that will be helpful as you move on to university and take some computer science classes at university, because many of them are given in Java, and the other half, half of the universities offer courses in Java, the other half in Python these days. So a second purpose of the class is to score well on the AP Computer Science exam. My goal is always to get like an average of 4.5 or higher. This past year, I think we got like 4.2, so we haven't really hit that yet, but maybe with this class we'll be able to reach that goal. And the way the course is designed is the first half of the year we go over basic concepts, and then the second half of the year we prep for the exam. So we learn all the tips, the tricks. We go through we go through sample questions, multiple choice and free response from many different test prep books, and also released exams. So by the time you go ahead and take the exam at the end of the year, you will be more than prepared for what's coming. Whether that means you're scared because throughout the second semester you weren't doing so well, or means you're supremely confident because throughout the second semester you were doing very well. That's what you have coming down the pipe. And so my purpose is to, I guess, for you not to score well, although that would be nice, but for you to be prepared and know what's going to be happening when you go ahead and sit down for this exam. Okay. I'm kind of in the understanding that the students who take this class, when they go to take the exam, you will know what score you're going to leave with before you take the exam, because of all the experience that you've had throughout the second semester. Okay. So what are the course objectives is a bunch of this stuff here. We're going to learn a little bit more about classes and objects and how we can use them to model real-world objects. We're going to learn about inheritance, which we kind of touched on in intro to coding, but we didn't really dive into too much explicitly. Polymorphism, which is a concept we did not really go over in intro to coding. And then a couple of classic algorithms that you learn about during your first year computer science course at university. And we're also going to be completing a series of labs, which hopefully make the course a little bit more enjoyable, a little bit more real. And there's some labs that were introduced by the College Board, who are in charge of the AP courses, and there were other labs that I created myself. And hopefully that gives you a little bit of something to bite into as you go through all of these abstract concepts. And then we have our textbooks. We're using Blue Pelican. Luckily, Blue Pelican is an online PDF textbook, so if you click on it here, you can see it opens up as a PDF. This is hosted on my website, so it takes up bandwidth. What I would prefer that you do is that you download it on your computer. So right click, save link as, and you open it up off of your computer to save my bandwidth. A second textbook we're going to be using in the second semester is the AP Barron's Computer Science A. It's more like a reference guide than a textbook, right? So we're going to be using that as well. Some online tools, we're going to be using my website. There was a gentleman that led a class on how to teach AP computer science, and he had this website, thecubscientist.com. I say had because he has passed away due to a car accident, which was kind of tragic to learn last year. But we're going to be using some of his material in the course, so going to be using that website. And the AP College Board has released free response questions, and I believe they also have released exam questions as well from several years, maybe 2 or 3 years in the past. And here is an online Java compiler that you can use if for whatever reason you're not able to run the compiler on your computer. Or maybe you want to write code on your tablet or something like that, or on your cell phone. You can use this online compiler. Grading scale is going to be standard. 90 is an A, 60 is a D, and anything less than that is a fail. Our breakdown on the grading is listed here. You can see that the majority is on tests. So the It's kind of strange because my intro to coding class and my intro to computer science class, I have no tests and I have no quizzes, right? It's just what I've tried to create is just a pure learning experience where you can enjoy learning at your own pace and push yourself to a certain level. This class here does not follow that philosophy. This class here has regular assessments so that you can keep track of where you are faltering or where you are weak, in the hopes that you will be able to spend that extra time to catch up in that area or those types of questions. So this class is going to be more of a reflection of how well you're going to score on the AP exam, right? So that's what that's going to be all about. And then we have participation, which is 8% of your grade, and I'll talk about that a little bit more as we move on down the syllabus. We have our homework, and again, I do not assign homework or classwork. I don't assign classwork, but I don't assign homework in my other classes. But this class is going to be different. We're going to have daily homework. That's going to be coming from our Blue Pelican textbook, mainly. And so you want to be aware of that. There's going to be regular quizzes every Friday, And sometimes the quizzes are going to be multiple choice questions. Sometimes the quizzes are going to be programming quizzes where you're going to sit at your computer and put something together. And so with the quizzes, I allow 50 students to make up 50% of their missing points by turning in a quiz correction form. And the form is set up in such a way where you are explaining to me why you got each question wrong and explaining the correct solution for each of your incorrect questions. So hopefully the quizzes are not so much a deterrent to learning, but they're more a opportunity for you to learn concepts that you might have missed as you were reading through the material yourself or going through the problems that we were doing in class. We have participation, and we have a set of rules here. If you follow them, then you don't have to worry about any participation points being taken away. But in the beginning of the year, you're given these 8 percentage points in full, and then throughout the year, if you start to breach any of these rules, then I'm going to let you know and also take away a participation point. So there are things that kind of would cause a breach that are not listed here. So in the first 2 weeks of class, there are not going to be any participation points taken away, but I will be letting you know if there's something that you're doing that I'm not happy about. And so basically, be on task, do your work from bell to bell, and we should be fine. If there's any distracting behavior or you're maybe talking to your friends about something that's not related to the class, then we will have a problem, right? Okay. And so what are the consequences of missing these participation points? Well, the first 2 instances will result in a lowered citizenship grade. So you go from A to a B. And then for every instance, a semester grade is going to be lowered by a percentage point. After 4 instances in a semester, a call home is going to be made or an email home. And after 8 instances in a semester, then we're going to meet with a parent and administrator and talk things out, see if we can fix the issue that is occurring in the classroom. So hopefully that kind of deters you from acting out in class. And then we have our cell phone policy. And what is the cell phone policy? No cell phones is the policy, right? People often ask, can I use my cell phone for music? Can I use my cell phone while I'm waiting for you to finish up with another student so that you can help me? The answer to both of those are no. I don't want to see the cell phones. I don't want to hear about the cell phones. I just don't want the cell phones taking up time in class, right? But that being said, of course, there are emergencies, and so if you do need to email your parents or receive a text or a phone call from them or send one out, just come up to me, let me know that that's what you need to do, and you can step outside the door and take care of business. I have no problems with that. But in class, I do not want to see any cell phones. Here we have my contact information, dlee at SMUSD, and I'm pretty good at getting back to you. I'm really good at getting back to conceptual problems. So if you say, I'm working on this problem, I've attached the code, and lines 23 to 30 are where I'm having issues, then I'm pretty good at getting back to you on that, whether in text form or in video form. Because for me, all of these problems and concepts are really easy to explain now that I've had a couple of years to go through it. But for you, it might be something that keeps you stuck for 2 or 3 days, right? So my job is to grease the wheels, make sure that you guys don't get stuck on anything. So I don't want you to sit there and mull over a problem for longer than an hour or 2 hours, right? So let me know that there's an issue, and I'll be quick to get back to you, and hopefully we can clear that up and keep the learning process moving forward as smoothly as possible. So that is the syllabus and the daily schedule. Yeah, so we have our textbook. It's right here. Another link to the textbook. Our course is broken up into 4 sections. I call it the basics, building classes, moron classes, and then AP exam prep. And so if we click on the basics, that's where we're going to start. And you can see here the homework is going to be Blue Pelican lessons. And along with the Blue Pelican lessons, we have instructional videos. So if you click on that, you can go here, download all of this folder. And inside this folder, for each lesson, there's a corresponding set of videos, right? So again, I wouldn't want you to try to run these off of Google Drive, but go ahead and download lesson 1, which is I don't know, quite a few gigs. I think it's like 1.5 gigs. Download them to your computer, and then as you're going through Blue Pelican through the lessons, if you have any issues, you can go through the corresponding videos that instruct on those concepts. And then in class, we're going to be going through problem set number 1. Okay, so the rhythm of the class is homework at home and classwork in class. And once we finish this classwork, which also has a set of instructional videos associated with them, then we're going to move on to the corresponding projects, which is going to be this data validation project, which has a description and a rubric. And then we're going to do the submarine attack, description and rubric. We might be doing this, I'm not sure, but anyhow, there's going to be a set of projects that you're going to complete. And once you're done with that, then we come back here and we move on to module 2. And you can see that module 2 is set up the same way, where we have a set of Blue Pelican lessons, problem sets. Once you finish the problem sets, we move on to the projects, which have description, videos, and a rubric. Right? So what are we going to do to get started? We are going to create our first Java program, and then I'm going to let you free to complete problem set number 1. So to get this going, you need to click on the magnifying glass found at the top right corner of your computer, and you're going to type in BlueJ and hit enter. Hopefully you'll have it installed on your computer. It's going to open up here. And let's go ahead and make a new class. Or maybe we could go up here to the top corner and say new project. And we'll call this my first app. And we'll hit enter. You could save it on your desktop, or you can create a set of folders inside of your documents or your hard drive and save your work there, however you want to set it up. I'll say create, and we get this. Okay. BlueJ is not the best compiler, meaning it's not very fast to use or when running. But the one good thing about it is that it shows you the class structure, right? So that's why we're using it. It's very visual and will help us out later on in the year. And the disadvantages of using BlueJ are not very evident as we go through our projects, because our projects are going to be quite simple. And yeah, so of course you could use Eclipse or whatever it is you want to use, but I prefer that you use BlueJ because I'm familiar with it. First thing you want to do is say hit new class, and we're going to type in my first app and hit enter. Now we double click on it, and you're going to see that it has pre-built code that's already typed in here. Notice here that we do / to start a comment, a multi-line comment, and we do * / to end a multi-line comment. Over here we can forget about that, so let's go ahead and delete all of those comments. A single line comment is 2 /. So again, we can forget about that. And let's go ahead and delete all of the code that's found inside here. So let's go ahead and delete everything found inside of my first app, and then we'll delete all of this here. Right? Okay. So, actually, let's delete that too. Okay, so Java is a little bit different than Python and C++, because in Java everything is an object, right? So they start out with with your I guess your starting your starting bit of code being part of a class. That's not the case in Python or C++, where you have like a main and it starts out in a function, right? It doesn't start out in a class. But in Java, that's how they set it up. And so what we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we're going to say public static void main. Static void main. Yeah, okay, there we go. Inside here we'll say string args with 2 brackets. And then inside here, the first thing we're going to do is the first thing we do with every program language that we're learning about is we code a hello world program. And so we're going to print out a line of code. The way you print it out is you do system.out.println, put a semicolon at the end of it, 2 double quotes inside of the parentheses, and let's type in hello world. Let's save that and see if it runs. We run it by hitting the compile button. So let's go ahead and hit the compile button. Down here it says compiled, no syntax errors, so we're good to go. Now when we run it, you want to go back to this window here. We're going to right click and we're going to click on void main. So we hit OK. And our output is in this terminal window, and you can see here that we have hello world. Okay, so we have our first hello world program going on, and you might have some questions on what is static, what is void, and all of these keywords here. Don't worry about it for now. We're going to learn more about that as we go through the year. It's not that big of a deal, but yeah, the next thing I want to do is create some variables. Right. So I guess maybe we can delete this hello world program, and we want to create, or maybe we can just like go above it and hit enter. The first thing we want to do is create a variable that can hold a whole number, and that's integer, right? If you remember from your data types, we have integers. And so in Java, you need to specify what the variable that you're creating is going to contain, right? In Python, you could make a variable called x, set it equal to a string, print out that string. Later on, set it equal to the number 5, print out that 5, and so on, right? So it's a bit easier to manipulate, but here in Java, you need to specify, I'm going to make a variable called num, and he is going to always contain an integer. Right. So if I come over here and I say num is equal to 4.45, which is a float, and I go ahead and compile it, it's going to say incompatible types. Right. Num can only hold integers because that's what I specified in the beginning. So let's go ahead and make it equal to 4, and I'm going to save that. And in here, maybe we can print out the variable num contains a, right? And then I'm going to put a plus sign, which is string concatenation, and I'm going to say num. So I'll save that, I'll compile, no syntax errors. Notice here we don't need to typecast num as a string. When you use our concatenating operator, which connects 2 strings together, if one of the operands is a string, then it automatically converts the other operand to a string. If it's a float, it converts it to a string. If it's an integer, it converts it into a string, and then concatenates the 2 and prints it out. Right? So let's come back over here, right click my first app, hit void main, and say OK. And you can see here contains a 4. So we might want to put a plus sign with a period there at the end so it looks nice and pretty. Ooh, right click. Oh, I didn't compile. So I'm going to come here and compile, and then I'll right click, void main, OK, and we got it looking nice and pretty, right? So that's an integer. Let's go ahead and now create another number. Maybe we can do a float, right? So we could say float, and you can notice the keywords are in red. So if you misspell it, then you'll know that it's misspelled because it's not in red, right? So num2. So I'm going to say float in red, and over here I'm going to say num2 is equal to, well, maybe I could do it over here. Num2 is equal to 12.35, and I can print it out in a similar fashion. num2. I'm going to right click and compile. Ooh, lossy types from double to float. Let's see. Okay. So let's go ahead and change it from float to double, actually, right? And so the difference between float and double is something we'll go over later on in the course, but they are both fractional numbers. Okay. So here we have a fractional number. We're going to set it as a double, and I'll compile it. Good to go. There's no syntax errors. I'll right click and I'll do void main. I'll say OK, and we got both of them printed out. Right? Okay. So we can also do math the same way, right? We can do system print out, and we could do num2 times num. Make sure we put them in parentheses. And what is it going to do? It's going to do the math first. It's going to multiply 12.23 times 4, and then convert that into a string and concatenate them together and print them out, right? So we could say num2 times num is, right? And we'll right click, compile, right click void, and we can see that it prints it out. Okay, so we've gone over ints, we've gone over doubles. Now we go over string, and now string is not a primitive data type, so it's not going to be in red, and we do need to capitalize it because the string is actually an object. It's a set of chars. Oh, actually we should probably go through char first, right? So char letter is equal to, or make our char letter, and then down here we could say letter is equal to D, and we can print it out. The variable letter contains a letter, right? So what is a char? A char is a character, right? So we're storing the letter D in it, and when I right click and I compile, or I hit this compile button over here, we have no syntax errors and we're ready to go. So we right click and we run main. So when you right click and you say void main, what you're saying is run this function, or I'm sorry, run this method, right? So if you remember, methods are functions basically that are found inside of a class, right? So here we're in this class, and this is a function in the class, so it's a method. In Python, in Java, there are no functions, right? Because everything is a class, so everything is a method. So that's what I'm going to be using to refer to these different functions that we're creating. Right click and you can see it contains a D, right? And so lastly we have string, and you'll notice here string does not turn red, right? And also has a capital letter. So why? It's because string is not a primitive data type, right? Primitive data types are integers, doubles, and chars. String is actually an object. And why is it an object? Because first of all, what is an object? To remind you, an object is a set of variables, right? And so what is a string and why is he an object? It's because he is a set of chars, right? That's what a string is. It's a one or more letter or characters put together. So let's put here word. But he's pre-built in Java, so you don't need to make this object. And also Java makes strings easy to manipulate by programming it in such a way where they behave like primitive data types. Okay, that'll become more clear as we move on, but for now, just understand when you want to make a string, capital S string, it's not going to be red. Right? And so let's go ahead and come over here and let's say word is equal to, and here with strings you need to use double quotes, with chars you need to use single quotes, and I'm going to say hello world. Right? And here I'm just going to print out, or maybe I could, let's say, get started with problem set 1. Okay, and then in here I'm going to print out word, And what's going to happen? Well, we run through our code. It creates the variable word that contains a string. Down here on line 21, it puts this string into the variable word, and then when it gets to line 22, it's going to print out the contents of word, which is this string, and then we're going to end our method, which ends our program. Right? So let's go ahead and hit compile. Right-click my first app, run void main, say OK, and that's what we have here. Get started with problem set number 1, and that's what I want you to do. Right? What you're going to do is come back to our class website, come here to module number 1, the basics, and we're going to start with our classwork, problem set number 1, fundamentals. If you click on it, it has a set of questions that start off with my first app, and you're going to start going through these problems. And if you have any issues, there are corresponding instructional videos right here, right, that you can find some answers at. And if you have any further questions, you can talk to me or reference the internet, talk to your neighbor, see if they can help you out. And we want to try to get through this as smoothly as possible. Let's get going.